It's going to be my personal Waterloo.
Have we just witnessed the worst Eurovision Song Contest ever? I need to make this video where the memories are still fresh and before the dust has settled, as proceedings have come to a close on the biggest musical event in the world. Rather than basking in the afterglow of another thoroughly enjoyable 4-hour extravaganza, I can't help but feel that the whole show in Vienna last night was quite lackluster and generally just underwhelming. So why am I feeling this way? I have to lay significant blame at the door of the hosts, who are without doubt the worst in modern Eurovision history. Well, as Eurovision fans, we have come to expect and even accept a liberal dose of continental European cringe humour. It is worth saying that when English is not your first language, you have to rely heavily on the script and allow it to do the majority of the heavy lifting and trust that humour will land. However, it does have to be performed, and energy is an international language, and this energy sets the tone. Victoria and Michael appeared drenched in lethargy. The styling was also strange. While Eurovision is known for camp excess and a liberal dose of glitter, Michael looked like he had been dragged through a Las Vegas costume shop backwards, and in keeping with the Vegas theme, did some unwarranted Elvis dancing while talking. Like, what? Anyway, pairing him with Victoria, who was wooden and at times appeared overwhelmed, was a big mistake. A screen chemistry test wouldn't have hurt. Victoria was leaning on that teleprompter like it was a life support system, and it really showed. Quips and ad-libs help to put the audience at ease and show that they are reacting to things in real time. Dad jokes and awkward skits about Eurovision winning songs won't cut it. This lack of spontaneity makes the show less interesting and generally feel like a long, slow slog. With a show at over 4 hours, a bit of personality certainly doesn't hurt to move things along. That being said, the hosts also didn't know how to build tension. Slow when they should have been fast, and fast when they should have been slow, like in the voting. United Kingdom 0 points. I sighed internally every time the camera moved across the stage and up into the green room. More quality time with these two was not something I was excited at the prospect of, and when those wispy curtains that represented the country flags and the start of an oil postcard came, I heaved a sigh of relief that we were being saved by the music. Weirdly enough, the more adept communicator Emily was shunted off to make coffee for the singers. Mozart playing to an empty room, if you will. This was a very upside down Eurovision, and not in a good way. People already think the Eurovision is a naff niche cringe fest. Michael and Victoria have certainly not helped to stem the rising tide of Eurovision naysayers. Where is Petra Mead or Hannah Waddingham when you need them? Eurovision has an international staff of writers. If crafting a semi-decent English language script is beyond them, maybe we are all truly doomed. The other criticism I have is how the 70th birthday was handled. The last two editions of Eurovision have leaned heavily into nostalgia. In 2024, the postcards featured Eurovision hits from yesteryear, and in 2025, Switzerland made a big deal about the nation being the birthplace of Eurovision. In 2026, I would like to have seen the contest perhaps look to the future, rather than having yet another contest where we rehash things that we have seen before. Marching Alexander Rybak on stage to play that bloody violin for the thousandth time to a Eurovision classic is becoming a withering and tired gimmick that even the most sentimental of souls, including myself, would take issue with, and I did. Eurovision needs to become visionary and look to the future of music and music production if it wants to survive in the modern era of streaming and independent artists. This reminds me of remember the glory days that Ireland and indeed the UK are masters of. While it's nice to cast a retrospective glance back, it can't be the only tool that you have in the arsenal. Eurovision needs to be about attracting younger viewers and appeal to the next generation. With 5 countries boycotting, perhaps a self-congratulatory, misty-eyed look in the rear-view mirror isn't overly appropriate. And with more wars and potentially more boycotts on the cards, Eurovision needs to pivot towards surviving in an extremely turbulent global political climate. This at times felt like a funeral march as opposed to a victory lap. My disdain for last night proceedings also extends to the postcards. These should be 45-second cinematic masterpieces, a blend of promoting the nation while giving us a sense of who the proceeding performing artist is. This is no easy feat, but it can be done. See Liverpool in 2023. These epic masterpieces give us a theme, such as a location in Ukraine, a comparable location in the United Kingdom, and then a showcase of a similar location in the performer's home country, all conveyed with beautiful imagery and expert cinematography in under 1 minute. Austria shoved the performer in front of a projector and told them to mime touching grass. The actual. These postcards made me feel like I owe 2024 mobile phone selfie videos an apology. If I was Austria Tourism, who interestingly co-sponsored this Eurovision, I would have hit the roof. At no point were the locations even displayed on screen. Eurovision postcards are a way of showcasing your country's tourism offerings to 200 million people. This is the kind of showcase most countries would jump at the chance of having the ability to do. The postcards didn't even explicitly state where these places were. Here is forest, here is mountain, here is river. These bland stock photograph locations could have been anywhere. For all we know, ORF raided the Getty Images cupboard and called it job done. Hopefully, Bulgaria will work to better showcase their country next year. Like Michael's Elvis impersonator costumes, they just didn't make sense. Well, Eurovision moved to an Arri Alexa broadcast camera system this year, which I applaud as the images look great. Arri Alexas are high-end cinema cameras, and it definitely gave the broadcast an upmarket feel. However, the amount of times that a cameraman was caught in shot, either intentionally or unintentionally, was unforgivable. Daniel Ziska and Noam Batan's performances being prime examples of this. I don't know whether it is because these cameras are heavier and more difficult to wield in a high-stakes live broadcast environment, but this is something that would need to be addressed moving into other contests. These 3-minute stage shows require us as an audience to feel pure, unadulterated escapism to allow us to connect with them fully. The shot of someone standing in front of the performer with a bulky camera completely shatters this illusion and is quite disconcerting. The stage was much smaller than previous contests, and the lack of a large LED video wall gives the operators perhaps less to hide behind, but still there has to be a way of addressing this. What are your first thoughts on last night's Eurovision? I'm going to make a more detailed review on the performances and the eventual winner, but wanted to get something out while everything is still fresh in my mind. In the meantime, I'd be very keen to get your thoughts. Did you enjoy last night's Eurovision? What changes would you like to see in future editions? Let me know in the comments below, and I will see you in the next video. I'll see you in the next video. Yeah.
Aujourd'hui, nous voulons montrer que nous sommes tous liés par la musique.